You. Have you ever felt like you're just going through the motions? Like your life is stuck on a loop you can't break out of? That's exactly where Nate was. At 30 years old, his entire world was the mailroom of a big company. Day in, day out, it was the same routine. Sort, deliver, repeat. He felt invisible, like a background character in someone else's story. He dreamed of being a hero, of doing something that mattered. But in reality, he was just Nate, the mail guy. But sometimes, the most ordinary people are called to do extraordinary things. One day, Nate saw something that flipped a switch inside him. His boss's young son was being cornered by a group of relentless bullies. They were bigger, meaner, and they were enjoying the fear in the boy's eyes. Everyone else just walked by, pretending not to see. But Nate couldn't. Something inside him, that long dormant spark of the hero he wanted to be, finally ignited. He stood up to them. It wasn't a big, flashy movie moment. It was clumsy and honestly, pretty terrifying. But he did it. He made the bullies back down. In that moment, Nate tasted something he hadn't felt in a decade. Purpose, too. He realized this wasn't a one-time thing. This kid needed protection, and Nate was the only one willing to provide it. But he also knew he couldn't do it alone. The bullies were part of a bigger, nastier network, and to fight them, he'd need a team. So, he started recruiting. His search for allies led him to the most unexpected places. He didn't look for muscle-bound security guards or X2. He looked for people who, like him, were overlooked but possessed unique talents. First, there was Lenny, a janitor who knew every secret passage and hidden corner of the entire city block. He was the team's eyes and ears, a ghost who could gather information without ever being seen. Then came Britt, a punk rock tech whiz from the IT department who could hack into anything and was fiercely loyal to anyone who treated her with respect. She became their digital shield. And finally, there was Troy, a massive gentle giant who worked in the company's warehouse. He looked intimidating, but he had a heart of gold and a protective instinct that made him the perfect bodyguard. This unlikely crew, a mailroom clerk, a janitor, a hacker, and a warehouse worker, formed an alliance. They called themselves the Mailroom Guardians. Their mission was simple: protect the innocent and stand up to those who use fear to control others. They weren't funded by a billionaire or blessed with superpowers. Their strength came from their cleverness, their loyalty to each other, and their shared desire to make a difference in a world that had always counted them out. They started small, creating diversions to keep the bullies away from the boy, using their unique knowledge of the building and its systems to outsmart them at every turn. Slow. Lenny would reroute them through confusing corridors. Britt would send them anonymous confusing texts that sent them on wild goose chases. And Troy would just slow appear, his silent presence enough to scatter them. Nate was the strategist, the heart of the operation, coordinating their efforts and giving them the courage to keep fighting. Their battle for this one boy soon uncovered a much larger problem. The bullying was just the tip of the iceberg. They discovered a web of intimidation and extortion that reached far beyond the playground. These kids weren't just mean. They were being manipulated by adults for their own shady dealings. Suddenly, the stakes were higher than ever. The Mailroom Guardians weren't just fighting schoolyard bullies anymore. They were taking on a genuine threat to their entire community. Nate and his team are proof that you don't need a cape to be a hero. Sometimes, all it takes is the courage to stand up and say no. It's about finding your purpose in the most unexpected places and assembling your own team of everyday heroes to fight for what's right. Their story is a reminder that no matter how small or invisible you feel, you have the power to make a massive impact. So what do you think? Could you be a hero in your own life? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more. We'll see you next time.